Everybody. Thank you for attending today's webinar. On my screen, you should see, well, let me make sure I'm broadcasting my screen here. There we go. Well, it's better. So on my screen it says, need DCIM, don't waste money. All right. So we're going to be talking about, obviously, DCIM and some things to think about if you're looking for a DCIM solution. So my name's Jason Sherman. And let's get started here. So I'm going to do a little slideshow here, not too much. I'm not a big slideshow person, but first thing we're going to start with just a polling question. What's number one concern here? Buying DCIM that goes unused, time to implement, finding an affordable solution, or other. So if you guys just go ahead and take that poll. Oh, sorry, got to start the poll. May launch it. There we go. Okay, great. Give you another minute. All right, so let me close that. Thank you very much for your feedback there. And let's move on. So DCIM certainly can streamline, save you money, reduce waste. Can also become very expensive shelfware. So my experience in the past is sort of varies, depends on, of course, customer and user, kind of what you're looking for. We certainly want to minimize shelfware as much as possible. So I think the way you do that is really know kind of what you're looking for and why you're looking for a solution, a DCIM solution, and sort of the real purpose behind it of what you're trying to do there. So features aren't one size fits all. DCIM vendors put too much emphasis on features and not enough on ROI and usability. So I think in the past we were guilty of this ourselves, sort of emphasized, hey, look at all the features we have, look at all the things we can do. We're a pretty robust piece of software, but we're not necessarily the right fit for everybody. There's different tools out there that have different feature sets, and they differ in form, functionality, and that's the same with usability for that standpoint, the interface, how things work, how well it might fit into your processes and what you're trying to do. Certainly can vary. So just because you're a DCIM vendor doesn't mean it's the right fit for you. So I would say if you're looking for a DCIM solution, just don't assume one size fits all. Do your research, look at who's out there, check out a couple different ones. Doesn't mean you have to do full installs and POCs and things like that. Certainly just get a demo, get some questions answered, get a feel for kind of how the software works. And I'll show you a little bit of ours today. Just talk about some things kind of to look at with respect to I think usability and when you are thinking in terms of ROI, which you might be looking for there. So DCIM users need flexibility. So software that doesn't give users flexibility to make customization, model your own objects, for example, end up slowing you down, cost you an arm and a leg. So I'm a big proponent of flexibility in a tool, whether it's DCIM or really any software. You want to have it so you can maybe make changes on your own, kind of configure it or set it up the way you might want it for your environment and the process that you're going to follow. So I think we're a pretty flexible software tool. Again, there's other tools out there, so as part of your process, you certainly want to look at a few tools so you get a feel for what's out there and what they can do, and if they're going to be a good fit for you. We do keep our tool somewhat broad as far as the data that you capture, the objects, the look, the feel, and those types of things. So try and keep it flexible from that standpoint. So something too rigid, I think, can be long-term a little detrimental to what you're doing. So does it have to have everything? I'd say there's not one DCIM solution that's going to work for everybody. Again, I go back to checking out different tools that are out there. Some vendors focus on certain aspects. We focus on DCIM, but we also can do some inside-outside plant information as well. So you can have one tool that kind of fits the bill for some different options you might need. But that, that again may not be the right fit for what you guys are doing. So another polling question here: have you used DCIM? Yes, currently, or in the past, or no, or somewhat other. So let me grab that polling and start that one up. If you wouldn't mind doing a couple responses there. Okay, take another minute. All right, thanks for that. Let me close that polling. Move on. So now we're at the seed in action part. So I said we weren't going to spend a whole lot of time on PowerPoint slides. So on my screen now, we should see the netTerrain software, in fact, on the screen. So our software is a web-based tool, DCIM tool. This particular thing that you're seeing on the screen is some collection of different projects. When you start using netTerrain, our software, it's actually basically a white piece of paper in the middle of the screen, as opposed to having these objects you see here, which are representing different drawings and networks and other things. So our tool, I mentioned sort of flexible and being able to kind of make it kind of fit the way you need it to fit, or do the things you need it to do. We are a tool that, for the most part, your users are going to be interacting and interfacing with it through a browser. So your traditional common browsers, Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, Safari on the Mac, those tools you can certainly use. We are also a hierarchical tool, so we're DCIM, where we allow you to create hierarchies of information, where I can start at a high level, like this thing called physical, and double click and drill down and see a network of objects. These are different locations I have. Obviously, I've got a world map that I've added, and we allow you to build these, again, this hierarchy of information. I can click on an object, and on the left-hand side, I have data associated with that object, data fields. And these objects, these things I refer to as objects, these have come from our collection of catalog objects. We have different object types: nodes, racks, devices, links. And these are things that, these objects, these are things you can actually add. I mean, they're really just icons with data fields, at least as far as the node types go. Racks and devices are a little more complicated. But again, things that you can add as a user, you can add the data fields you want, take away data fields, and so on, and use the tool, set it up kind of the way you need it. I have this particular project set up where it's a pretty deep hierarchy, where I've got different buildings, I've got various maps. I'm using some outside plant maps here. Can double click on a building and drill down and actually see a picture of a building, and I've got floors placed over top of that, right? And the interface allows me to double click, drill down, or drag and drop. If I want to add something new to a drawing, I can go and simply drag and drop to add a floor. That's how our tool works. There's other ways to bring in data, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But with respect to DCIM, you can build these sort of hierarchy of information. Do you have to? No. You could just as easily have been like, well, I just care about a data center like this, where I've got a floor plan and cabinets laid on top of the floor plan. So here are different cabinets. I could move these around. But this could have just been as easily been my top level, my thing that I see right when I log into the tool, into the software. So again, that kind of goes back to you have the ability to build these hierarchies in whatever really configuration you want, but you also can choose to really limit that hierarchy or have sort of a mix depending on the location and building and things like that. So as far as our DCIM, we allow you to go down to, of course, a cabinet view elevation. The cabinets can calculate things. weight, power, available rack units, and so on. You can visually see if a cabinet is effectively full because they're red, or empty when they're green and yellow and orange, somewhere in between. So that's rack utilization. But again, you could do that based on power or even weight for that matter. DCIM, you get down to sort of being able to see rack level, rack elevation, and so on. But before I continue, and again, you're out, you're looking for a DCIM tool, and what is it that you're really looking to do or looking for? So in our case, and what I'm showing you here as an example, I've got hierarchy, I've got objects all the way down to a cabinet showing equipment inside a cabinet. I can de-rack mount or rack mount. And if you're looking for a DCIM solution where you can track down to this level of detail, then maybe I could be the right fit, but maybe not. You might also be looking for other things in your cabinet level views, which maybe we don't provide. So it just depends. Ultimately, you have to go back and ask yourself, what is really the solution I need? Why am I even looking for a DCIM tool? We always say, what's the pain? If the pain is, I want to do troubleshooting, I need to see physical connections, it's inventory and other things, again, DCIM might be the right solution, maybe not. I don't know. But you want to make sure it's the right fit and not just looking at the features and functionality. Some of that, of course, is important. But so I have an object, a device here. I've got data fields associated with it. I can double click. This is where we get into our object types called devices. And I can get down to a device level. Devices for us are basically an object that has a backplane where you can actually show the ports for the device. And those ports can be connected to other ports, external ports in this case, whether it's power or data. I can show the connection. So I can see, hey, this is connected to port 1F. What is port 1F? Well, 1F is a patch panel, front and back. And I can double click and have it chase back to where I just came from. What about power? I want to see where's this thing being fed from? Where there's port 1 of the Simone PDU. So I can get back to that. Double click will take me back to the device. You can also do a double click and refer to as a CLR view. So the things I'm showing you here, they're features, but they do help solve some problems. One is when you're talking about rack elevation views, then you can get into capacity planning, also even power planning, because you can know how much equipment's in the device, how much you can expect power-wise to be consumed, and so on. When we get down to cable connections, now we're talking about really troubleshooting, also capacity planning. Do I have enough ports available, or are they free ports? How am I going to connect up the next device that needs to go into the cabinet, and so on. But also troubleshooting, where does this connection go? If I'm having a problem with this device, what is it connected to, and what are the interconnections? This is showing you sort of that whole path. This is taking me from a port of a device inside a cabinet. This is the port I just came from. If I double click, it'll take me back to where I was just at, which is that device I was showing before. So here's the device. This is what it's connected to. This is that first hop, basically. But if I double click a link, again, it takes me back to this circuit layout record view, referred to as the CLR. So this is showing you the physical path. This is a connection link between these two ports. And then this in turn connects these two ports, this being it's actually a cross connect between a patch panel. And that goes to another patch panel, to another, and it just shows me the full path. And I can get to the other end now and see where it physically terminates. What's the end point of this thing? Understand what I'm connected to here. I can go up a level and see again even things like cards and cards inside chassis and the chassis inside the cabinets and so on. So again, I can capacity planning, I'm covering things like troubleshooting, understanding maybe power and weight and within the data center. So those are all things you can certainly touch on. As far as getting data into a system like this, DCIM, things you want to look into is there external data available that you have today? How can we bring that data in? Is there import mechanisms, whether it's Excel, CSV, connections to data sources directly or using APIs? Those are all things we support, but those things you have to think about. Because manually creating a couple cabinets is not a big deal, but when you're talking about hundreds of cabinets or maybe even more, and if you need to get into connections, now you're talking about thousands or tens of thousands of connections, certainly you want to automate that as much as possible. And also, there's the discovery side if you do an SNMP and other types of things with respect to a tool like ours. So with that said, covered sort of a bit of ground with our tool and just talking about DCIM in general. So this session was about avoiding wasting money. How do you avoid wasting money? Well, I really think you need to, again, go back to asking the question of what is this thing really going to do for me, this software? What pain, what trouble, what issue am I having that is so important I need to go buy a solution and investigate and look at multiple solutions and those types of things. So if there's a good reason to do it, and there certainly are and can be, that's why we exist and we have a lot of customers, then you go to the next step, which is investigating the tools that are out there, tools like ourselves or other products, and just comparing and making sure, finding the right fit, and of course, money, making sure it fits the budget as well. That's always pretty important. So with that said, I'll bring this to a close. Let me just switch back to my PowerPoint here. Sorry, these are slides we went through. So we did the whole in-action thing. If you go to our website, there's a list of customers we have. We're pretty worldwide company as far as we have customers around the world, different segments from government to universities to of course corporations, business, that type of thing. So a lot of different ones around the world. Anyway, I'm gonna see if there's any questions out there. Let me open up my little question box. Give me 1 second. Okay. So some questions that were being asked: how often do you update your catalog? So I mentioned we have this catalog. The main things we update are the devices and cards. We do that pretty often, but you can actually request, if you're a customer, you can request devices and cards from us at any time. So if you have something that's missing, there's a new widget you purchased, you're like, hey, I'd like you guys to model this, we can do it for you. But again, going back to flexibility, our tool, you can model something yourself. You don't have to wait for us. You can actually clone things that exist. You'll find a lot of manufacturers release a new model, looks identical to the last model that might already be in the catalog. So literally you can just clone it up, give it the new name, and you're ready to go. So pretty easy to use our catalog. Front and back of rack views. We do offer front and back of rack views, so you can have, basically we allow you to do, we call them containers, so it's a side-by-side container, so one side's front, one side's back. That allows you to consume rack space. It is not meant to be used as like a 3D type view. There are other tools that do 3D where you can turn racks around upside down and that kind of thing. If that's the solution you're looking for, that is not our tool, so you might want to look elsewhere. But we do have front and back views you can create and use, and it's pretty cool. Capacity planning reports. I didn't really get into showing reports, but we do have different report types. We have a reporting engine, dashboard reporting engine, nice bar charts and graphs and pie charts, and we have a dashboard manager. You can create your own reports as well. We actually create reports for you if you're a customer. But we do have really any kind of report you need or want, whether it's out of the box or not. Those are things that can be added very easily. Is netTerrain on-prem or cloud? Whatever you prefer. Cloud we offer. We have some people that start cloud and move, or you can just go straight to on-prem. There's lots of licensing options for you. So whatever works best, we usually have a solution for you. Can you import a spreadsheet? Yeah, I was talking about sort of the import options. You can definitely do Excel import and import from other data sets, which leads to another question that was asked. I have SolarWinds and ServiceNow. Does netTerrain have a way to import the data in? Yes, so we can connect to SolarWinds or ServiceNow, or really any data source, and bring data from those data sources on a regular basis. So you're getting constant updates and fresh data from those data sets. And we encourage you to do that because that helps you automate your documentation and your DCIM processes. So that's the thing that makes it successful, or can, is having a good process, whether it's automated or not. As long as you have a good process in place and you stick to it, you'll have really good documentation. and it'll help you solve a lot of problems. So, free trials is always a good question, right? We do have an offering. You can go to netTerrain.com and actually sign up for netTerrain and try it out. Basically, the tool I was showing you, you get a blank page, and then you can start adding things to it. And there's sort of a wizard there in the beginning that helps get you started as well. So you can give that a try, netTerrain.com. How is netTerrain priced? By object. If so, we have a catalog. If you take something from our catalog, I'm not talking about links though. I'm talking specifically about a node like a building. I go to add a building. That is one object from your license count. Or I add a cabinet. That is one object from your license count, or a switch. We don't license the backplane stuff, so ports, cards, links, none of that stuff is included. So it's really, hey, I got 100 things in my environment I need to document. Well, you need a license count that covers at least 100 objects. So, and if you need more details about that, we can do that. Does netTerrain have a network discovery solution? Yeah, so we've got a good SNMP discovery tool. Can also do get other data from data sets, do WMI, do rudimentary ping stuff, but ultimately most people are looking for the SNMP and the CDP and LLDP, layer 2, layer 3. So we do a tool that allows you to do that as well. So anyway, thanks everybody for your time. I think time is up here. Appreciate all the questions, and if you have questions of us, just reach out to us. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.